Hi everyone, I'm here to talk to you today about embracing the inevitable. How do we adapt to change, to transitions? Our lives are full of constant movement, constant things which keep coming at us, which can challenge us. Change is something that plays such a central role in our lives. When I was a young person, my aim was to become a cardiac surgeon. But lo and behold, my entire life's trajectory completely changed. And I found myself exploring mental health. Mental health, when I was in school almost 23 years ago now, was not a topic which was ever talked about. Psychology was not even a subject that I had in school. But yet I found myself at this crossroads where this seemingly different yet very, very interesting and engaging subject came at me. And I was willing to look at it at that stage and say, could this be an opportunity? The fact is that our life can often put us in a situation where we may not think we can really come across or go ahead with what we thought we would do. But yet, there may be something in front of us that could turn out to be this wonderful opportunity that can change the entire trajectory of your lives. Let's look at certain other examples. What could be other ways in which change can come at us? Imagine you're walking down the road, you just exited your home and you thought, I'm going to go and buy a packet of chips. You're walking and suddenly you hear this huge crash. You just don't hear it, you see it as well. A car hits this bike and there's a person who is injured in an extremely bad way. Your entire life in that moment can also transition. You would not have expected to see that crash happening. It would lead to a certain experience for you. Thoughts of how there can be so much uncertainty, how you conceptualize safety, how you understand what the future can hold. It could have been you in that particular situation as well. You were lucky you weren't that person, but someone else was. It can lead to a lot of emotions. It could lead to a lot of different responses. Consider another example. You're traveling, right? You're out for a particular trip, you're out with your friends, you're having this wonderful vacation, you just land back at the airport and suddenly you get a call from your parent saying that your dad is not well. He seems to have had a cardiac. You rush only to discover that he's no more. You had a plan for your life. You were looking to discover what you are going to do in the future. Your dad was going to be that person who would support you, who would help you transition and figure out your next steps. But now life throws this googly at you and you don't know what to do. You're a young person, a student, and you still have your entire life in front of you. Not just your own life, you probably have to also look at his affairs, finances, business, work, everything. And that can be a change which could come at you. But these changes will not always be bad, right? Look at another example. We could be in a situation where you're looking to get married, to be in a relationship with someone who's extremely kind, extremely generous. You find this person in your life only to realize that you will have to move to another country. What would that mean? It's exciting. It'll be a new place. It'll be involving a lot of discovery for your own self, but it would also come with challenges. You'll have a great partner, but it also means probably going through a whole requalification process. You've already done your education, you've probably been working for a bit. But that would mean that you now need to start thinking about things very differently. It would involve setting up your entire support system, understanding the new country, figuring out their systems because every place operates and functions so differently. So change will be central. Change will be coming at us across our lifespan. There are certain changes which we are all mentally prepared for. You know that you will go from school to college, from college to a workplace, from a workplace to multiple other workplaces. In the process, you will probably have relationships. Hopefully, you'll get married. Through that process of the marriage, you'll have a family. These are the changes that we are all mentally primed for. Because we know that this is what generally the trajectory of life should be, would be. But like I was sharing in those previous examples, some things can come at us which could completely change and transform the smoothness which we anticipate that the journey would occur. Change will not always be linear. Change can always make us move between different situations which could create a lot of challenges. These always don't have to be such big events. It could be something extremely small as well. For instance, tomorrow, you may end up getting up late, you miss a lecture, and somehow you don't get to know about an assignment which was due. It is going to affect your grade. It is something which would compromise your entire academic experience, and it's not something that you could do much about. This could be a small situation, yet which could have an extremely big impact on your entire life. Change could also be that tomorrow you could have a medical complication, and because of which you may have to skip a whole semester. You were going to close your entire education at a certain time. You had plans for the future. You probably sat for your, interviews with certain companies, and you probably had a particular job which was available to you. But now all of that would need to change. So these changes can come at us, and all of these examples that I'm sharing with you, all of these are real. These have happened to people. It is not something which is a constructed reality. So each and every one of us in many ways is vulnerable. And yet each and every one of us can have the capacity to cope with that change. That change can feel difficult because it creates a situation which is very different to what we thought would happen, very different to what we were expecting, what we are primed for. But change doesn't always have to be difficult. You would have heard a lot of people talk about how change can be an opportunity for you to grow, to learn, to discover, to understand your own self, to be able to recognize what are the different skills that you have, what are the different ways in which you can function, which could allow you to be very innovative, very creative. And it can require sometimes that we may have to pivot towards a new approach. But does that always have to be difficult? The answer to that is no. It doesn't always have to be difficult. It can also be exciting. But what is it that would create that difference between how are we envisioning change? How are we envisioning the challenge that is coming at us because we are in this state of change and transition? It's about ourself, our sense of self, who we are, what we are as people, what are the values that define us, what are the beliefs that we hold within ourselves, which can help us understand how are we going to go through different transitions within our entire life. This entire sense of self develops on the basis of what are the experiences that you've had across time, and it also develops on account of the beliefs that you have come to incorporate. Because you have certain influences in your life, those influences are not just your early parenting influences. Those influences are also about your neighborhood. What is the kind of information that you're consuming? We're all on our gadgets and we're constantly consuming information. It is shaping certain beliefs. It helps us understand how the world functions, how people are, what is it that will potentially come at us, how we may have certain support systems, right? So everything about us, our entire self system is contributing towards how is it that you are going to be navigating the change process. And this manifests in the way that you will think about things, the way you will feel about things, the way you will respond to things. Let's go back to one of the examples that I started with, right? Let's look at the example where I was talking about the potential for marriage, because that's a happy, interesting one, right? Even in that situation where you're looking towards getting married and you're looking towards making a shift or a transition to a new country, you can have multiple different responses. It can lead to a thought process where you think that, this is so exciting. I'm really looking forward to this because this means I will have this opportunity to build a completely new and different life. Or you may start panicking and say, I don't know how I will do this. I am not sure how I am going to navigate these situations. There is going to be so much that needs to be done. Will I really be able to do it? Self-doubt. Do I have the skills to be able to manage this? I've always had people around me who have helped me, who supported me. Can I really manage this on my own? Or would I really need probably other people? So you can have a plethora of thought processes which would run in your mind. From feeling excited, happy, good, you may also start feeling really doubtful, unsure, apprehensive, fear can take grip of you. You may not be certain about how you're going to be navigating things. Those are the range of emotions that you could end up experiencing. And while you're going through those experiences, you may start feeling anger. You may feel resentment because you would feel, why am I stuck here? I don't want to be in this situation. I love the fact that I have this partner, but I hate the fact that I'm in this situation. So you may end up having this complex array of emotions where there's the good and the bad and it's all coexisting. So we need to be able to find a way that change is not scary for us. Change is not disruptive for us. Change is not painful for us, even though it can often feel that way. And sometimes what happens is that who we surround ourselves with, the support systems that we have, play such a crucial role in the way that we would take an approach. My support system can help me feel a sense of positivity because they could model to me the right way to approach a situation. Or they may sit down with me and start telling me, no, yeah, you are absolutely right. This is such a difficult situation. Are you sure you want to do it? So is this a friend? Is this a foe? Is this someone who's going to tell you, no, nudge the boundaries a little, discover you may be able to push through and actually make this work for your own self? So who is it that is standing around us? Who is it that we are talking to would really matter? Because that is shaping yourself, besides the information that you are constantly consuming. So we have to find ways in which we can navigate our way away from feeling constantly scared, uncertain. We have to construct a sense of self-belief, that belief that we have the capacity to cope, to be able to manage ourselves as we are functioning across different situations and transitioning. Because transitions will not stop. They will always be there. That is something which is not in our control. Change is the only constant, is a phrase which we all hear about, and that is a reality that we have to submit to. So what is it that can help us construct this change and this capacity to cope with change? This is a little note for all of you. Parchment. You have to start with building the patience. The patience to allow yourself to experience all the emotions that you're going through till you find yourself to be at that stable spot where you can now start actively thinking about what do you need to do. Patience is a key. Often when we are in a state of flux, when we are experiencing a difficult situation, we start feeling very restless because we want to immediately resolve that situation and take control. In that rush to change that situation, we often make mistakes because you've not allowed yourself to feel settled. So patience is a key. Patience is the one word which I think for youth often creates a sense of disruption in their state of mind because we don't like that word often, but actually it's one of the most important virtues that you can start inculcating for your own selves. That is something which is extremely important. So you start with building that patience and recognizing that you have adapted to varying situations in the past as well. This is not the first time that you would be experiencing change. Change that you were anticipating, you were able to navigate it. Even changes which you did not anticipate, you were able to navigate them. So we need to remember that while we are being patient, we did adapt. And we have to start raising questions to start neutralizing that negative thought process when it is taking grip of us. We have to start asking ourselves, do I really need to be scared? Is it really that impossible? Am I panicking? And if I am panicking, can I not just take some time to be able to allow myself that space to figure out what should be next? Can we start asking ourselves those questions which can neutralize that thought process? That is your next step. And you remember that change is cyclical. Change is constant. It's happening. Something which is new right now will become old tomorrow. In fact, it will become old within the next 5 minutes. And that is something which happens for all of us. So in that moment when it first comes at you, it feels too large, it feels too difficult. But if you give yourself a little bit of time, you will realize that it is actually okay. And we habituate to the new. So something which is challenging us right now, we will become okay with it as we allow ourselves to sit with that entire situation. So even if you did not do well within an exam, it may in that moment feel it's the worst experience that you could have had because you had such great expectations and hopes for your own self. It's your favorite subject, you've always done well, you've been doing great in your assignments in class, but when that exam came, you just choked. But that's not the end, because you can remind yourself, while it is feeling so intense right now, tomorrow I'll have another opportunity. This cannot be the penultimate or the ultimate situation for me. And there is going to be an understanding that I can integrate this and get habituated to it, that yes, this happened. It happened. It's not happening. It was in the past. It's gone. And we have to now start mindfully engaging to the present. What is my new reality right now? What is there in front of me today? If my anticipated situation has changed, then I need to start looking at what is this new experience in front of me so that I can move forward. I have to establish the right support systems because, like we were discussing, I was sharing, those support systems matter. They can encourage me or they can pull me down. They can tell me that I can do this or they can tell me that this is the worst situation for me ever. And we need to start nurturing and building a positive mindset. A mindset in which we are looking at the situations in front of us as opportunities, where we recognize that there are skills which can be learned. There is space for innovation, for creativity. Because unless you find something new in front of you, how will there be something different that you can build? If everything were to run smoothly in a single monotonous manner, there would be nothing new which would happen. There would be no discoveries. There would be nothing new that would get created. So for us to be able to do well in our lives, we need the changes to keep happening. For life to throw greater situations at us so that we can test our own selves and figure out what could be an alternative that someone else may not have thought of. And we have to then tackle that distress by reminding us of all of these other things that we just talked about. Because what we all need to understand is that what we need is the audacity of hope. Hope that change is not going to be that ultimate situation which is going to trip me up. Change is not going to lead to my unfolding because I am going to trust my own self. I'm going to develop that self-belief that I can navigate these situations. So what you need is build that right support system outside of yourself, within your own selves. Utilize this note to help you adapt to change. Remember that there are ways in which change cannot be that pain point of your life. Change is the opportunity for you to grow. Change is the opportunity for you to innovate. So thank you so much for your time, for your patience to listen to me today.